Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today I'm introducing something a little different to the channel. When I finish a new book or audiobook, I'm going to do a quick little non-spoiler review with a few thoughts and whether or not I recommend it to you all. Of course I can follow that up with a spoiler review too if that's wanted, but I'm starting with non-spoilers only. As I always say, the lore is best enjoyed for yourselves first. So today I'm beginning with a review of Belisarius Cawl, The Great Work, written by Guy Haley. And I listened to the audiobook version, narrated by John Banks. And again, this is a spoiler-free review. I will put a link to the novel on the Black Library website in the description as always for those that are interested. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. So The Great Work acts as essentially a sequel of sorts to the Warhammer 40k novel Dark Imperium: The Plague Wars, as well as the Horus Heresy novel Wolfsbane. And this really seems like a big evolution for the Warhammer 40k novels, in that with the main storyline being advanced for, well, the first time ever, we now will get a continuing narrative across an advancing main storyline, as opposed to the isolated stories we've had before. Now, it's not a necessity to have read these novels by any means, but personally, having done so, it does, in my opinion, aid your understanding of certain characters, as there are continuing themes from both novels. Dark Imperium Plague Wars begins to show you the frustrations the returned Primarch Rabute Guilliman is having with Belisarius, as well as showing you the changes the returned Primarch is making on the Imperium. Whereas Wolfsbane shows us a much younger Belisarius during the Heresy, and introduces us to Friedish, Cawl's friend, and someone who helps Cawl become a much more relatable character. And it obviously helps that both of these novels were written by the same author, Guy Haley, so we don't have another writer taking on somebody else's idea, which can sometimes lead to confusing or disappointing outcomes. Haley clearly has a strong idea of who Belisarius Cawl is and what he wants him to be, and I hope he continues to keep the reins of future instalments of Cawl's journey. Now, if you are one of the many people wondering just what Belisarius Cawl is up to, you 100% get your answers here. It's called Belisarius Cawl: The Great Work for a reason. And I can say for the most part, Cawl is very well written, and this novel does a good job of endearing the character more to the fan base. We get to see a lot more of his past through flashbacks, which gives us an understanding of Cawl's motivations and behaviour that we previously lacked. And I have to say, for the audiobook version, the voice acting for Belisarius was extremely good. John Banks did a great job bringing him to life. Will you definitely like Cawl by the end and be on side with his actions? No, not necessarily. It all depends on your opinions. Cawl definitely has large shades of grey to his personality and actions, which raises the question of does the end justify the means? But I can say you will understand him more. I'd be very interested to see if Cawl comes across as well when reading it as opposed to hearing. And on that note, for the audiobook, the voice acting as a whole was very good. I'm normally a little wary if something's not narrated by Jonathan Keeble, who to me has become the voice of the Black Library, but I have to say John Banks did a great job. The story takes place on Sofa, which is the barren homeworld of the Scythes of the Emperor chapter, having been directly in the path of a hive fleet of Tyranids. And this gives us our base for the side story of Thracian, the chapter master of the Scythes of the Emperor, and his remaining marines. Now, while this too is an entertaining tale, which is interlinked with the main story, it didn't quite grip me as much as the main story. And I felt that was really down to Thracian's story arc, or kind of lack thereof. It felt like another way to tell us the Primaris Marines are the future and the original Marines are the past. Which is fine, I have no problem with that, unlike some. And from a lore perspective, I can very much see that being the case. But it does feel like almost any story you get is hammering this same narrative. And in this instance, it does feel a little forced. It would be nice to see a different take on it at some point. I was expecting to come out of this story wanting a Scythes of the Emperor army. They've got the cool colour scheme already, the awesome name, but that didn't happen. I feel like if you replace them with any other Space Marine chapter, it wouldn't have made too much difference. All in all though, this doesn't detract too much from what is a very good read, or listen as was in my case. I thoroughly enjoyed my listen, and there were points in the story where I just didn't want to stop until I found out what was going to happen, and we're even treated to a pretty great cameo from a big name in the lore along the way. So overall I can happily say Guy Haley really delivered with this novel, and Belisarius Cawl, The Great Work, is a great read or listen. But what do you guys think? Have you read it? Did you enjoy it? Or is it on your to-do list? Or are you going to give it a miss? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, then please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.